quite as British of a desk.
So.
It's in fact 0% as British as it was.
It's half European, actually.
Yeah, I've got some European ancestry as well, German, but.
Yeah, well, you know what I meant is that they want to Brexit.
Yes.
So, you know.
Well, they got out. They're gonna do their own thing now, and we are going to be getting into semifinal number 2. It is SamuelTsao taking on Palmblad. Both of these guys have already booked their tickets to the Bahamas in the Winter Championships, but now they're going for the glory, Lothar. You know a little something about that.
Yeah, well, they play for the glory, but at the same time, I'm 100% sure that they are relieved. They don't feel the pressure anymore, because the quarterfinal was something that was most important. If they're going to Bahamas, they're like, yeah, whew, I made it, right? Here, just they are playing for the title, of course, but I feel like they will be more comfortable. Because of that, we might actually see less mistakes being made, right? So let's hope just for a very good match of Hearthstone here.
Yeah, definitely. I would hope a weight off of these guys' shoulders, but still, the title of Asia Pacific Winter Champion is on the line, and we are getting into game number 1. It is Samuel on his Pirate Warrior and Palmblad on the Reno Mage. And there is Reno in Palmblad's opening hand, so it is going to be an uphill climb for the Warrior, but they've certainly done it before today, and Samuel can definitely do it again.
Maybe he'll just kill him before.
That's true.
Turn 6, right? So that's a possibility.
You need to have 6 mana to be able to play the Reno.
True. We already did cast a match from Samuel, and we know what exactly lineup he plays. What is his, like play style? He plays very aggressive lineup. Actually, something that wasn't that popular as an NA last week. So basically, for aggressive decks, Pirate Warrior, Aggro Shaman, Aggro Rogue, and Tempo Mage. And now he starts with the Pirate Warrior, so the same opener as in the quarterfinal, and he actually has a really good opener. Turn 1, Small Time Buccaneer, but not for long. This card will be left soon.
Soon enough. We're in the Small Time Buccaneer nerf waiting room currently. But right now it's got 2 health, and it's going to do some work for Samuel. Certainly Palmblad has a much more controlling lineup. He has the Reno Warlock as well as the Reno Mage. So it is a battle of aggression versus a little bit more control. Going to be interesting to see how this one works out, because Samuel had a dominating performance. Palmblad did as well. In the previous semifinal, both of those guys had a bit more difficult time. Their quarterfinals went to more games, whereas Palmblad and Samuel both won 3-0 in their quarterfinals.
Which is something to brag, right? About, I mean, 3-0ing your opponent. It's always a bragging right. So
confidence booster.
I guess so. I mean, they're really looking calm right now. So that's something to take into consideration. Palmblad, we didn't talk about his lineup actually. He's playing the second most popular lineup. So Reno Warlock, Reno Mage, Pirate Warrior, and Aggro Shaman. It includes, though, 2 Flame Phasers, but now we are playing, of course, with the Reno Mage, who is not playing with Ice Barrier, so a little bit less defense against aggressive decks, but it's not, of course, it's still a great deck against aggro decks.
You've got Reno in the opener. A lot of time, Ice Barrier isn't too relevant, so Palmblad certainly, it may come into play, but likely won't even affect him here. And both these guys just going through the motions so far. Palmblad trying to reduce Samuel's early aggression. Samuel just playing out his hand in the order that it comes to him, and certainly he's had a pretty nice start so far.
Yep, that is true. I mean, it's pretty straightforward, as you said. Palmblad needs to just decrease the damage that is coming to his face, while Samuel just needs to put as much pressure as possible, and he needs to be mindful about weapon removal. There's one Acidic Strampus in his opponent's deck. He actually kind of checked for it, because he had attack with his weapon last turn, so he knows that there's no Acidic Strampus, because it would have been played just to decrease the amount of damage, and that means the road is free for the Bloodsail Cultist, and that gives him additional output of damage. It's actually pretty large, because it's additional 5.
Yeah, the Ice Block coming into hand for Palmblad actually could be really relevant here, because it's only turn 3 for Palmblad. Samuel already has him down to 17, and the aggression isn't letting up. So if Palmblad is able to get the Ice Block down and then effectively have enough time to play Reno Jackson, he's going to have a much better chance of actually surviving in this game, of course. We have to worry about TJ's favorite acronym. It is the PRD, the post-Reno damage. But Samuel's board isn't super threatening here. And most of the damage thus far has come from that Fiery War Axe. It's been incredibly efficient. Yeah, and it's still going to be coming with the upgrade in hand.
Well, Palmblad doesn't know that, of course, but if he plays Ice Block this turn, he needs to take into account that next turn he is gonna get at least 8 damage. Corcoran Elite, it's 12. That's like, you know, the full mana value from Samuel that he can do. So he goes, instead of Ice Blocking, he just goes into Hero Power mode. Interesting choice, because he had Frost Nova for the upcoming turn to sustain some damage, get closer to the turn 6 and heal up. And wow, that's actually an interesting choice.
He's got to make it to turn 6. In this case, his line of thought may be, you know, he can Vendor on 4, and the 4 health may just be enough. If not, he has the Frost Nova as a flexible option, and then potentially block on 5, Reno on 6. He just needs to parcel out his hand in the most efficient way possible to not die before turn 6 comes around, and then he can heal back up to full. And SamuelTsao has a tough decision to make here. Steady Shot looks really tempting, and he is ultimately going to go with it. Usually you will see the aggressive warrior players taking the light tap because resources over time can add up to more damage than the Steady Shot, but in this case, Samuel is so close to finishing off Palmblad that he is just going full aggression, and I like it.
Yeah, I think it's more important to have Steady Shot right now because it's basically charge, right? You just pay 2 mana, deal 2 damage. It's an Arcane Shot that is being drawn every single turn, but it just costs 2 instead of 1. So it's definitely more important, especially as you said, his opponent is going lower, so you don't want to draw another weapon because you already have a weapon for the swing next turn. There's a chance you can just draw a minion that doesn't have charge, and you'll be sitting there like, what do I do now, right? In this case, he has a 5 attack weapon and 2 damage from the Arcane Shot, and that's exactly 7. So Palmblad is on his toes. Even with a Frost Nova, he's still dead.
Even if he puts up the block this turn, it's the only thing that's going to save him, but then he will be on 5 on the following turn, and 5 does not equal 6. That is not enough mana to be able to play the Reno.
The decision of, oh my god. Okay, so, what I wanted to say, let me just finish the thought and then correct myself, because he was being punished by using the hero power on turn 3 instead of developing the Ice Block, because that would have been 2 more damage, but Ice Block was already developed. But in this case, he has another Ice Block for turn 5 into turn 6 Reno. That is huge. That is actually insane how huge it is.
I'm trying to think of some other mage spell that could have gotten him to turn 6. I do not think there is one. There's nothing that you have that can shut down board, weapon, and hero power, except Ice Block, which actually just makes you immune. That is exactly what Palmblad needed to be able to live until turn 6. Question is it going to be enough to heal up to full? Will he not just be dead in the several turns after? It's looking like he's gonna have enough time. He's able to remove the deckhand on the same turn that he plays the block, and now this board is not all that threatening.
And Samuel is just drawing really powerful cards. The upgrade puts another, like, wow, how much damage is that, right? Wants you to play the upgrade first, it adds +1 damage on the Blood Serrator as well, but the Acidic Swamp Ooze wasn't yet played. And he knows that he cannot attack within this turn. So he might actually just wait with that 1 card. It will also bluff what is it in his hand. And if there will be an Acidic Swamp Ooze, he will be able to just play another weapon. But at the same time, the only possibility for Palmblad to not die next turn is Reno Jackson. So the Acidic Swamp Ooze can't even be replayed.
Okay, so Palmblad plays Reno. He goes back up to 30. Samuel has 8, 11, 14, 15, 21, 23 with the hero power. That is 29 damage. I believe, I could be mistaken here, but let's see how this plays out. 6, 8, and then the 6, that's 14. Samuel had 29 damage on the turn immediately following the Reno Jackson. He was 1 damage off lethal here, and now Palmblad would need to clear the board and then heal up on the following turn. He has the Flame Strike and he has the Refreshment Vendor. He does not have 11 mana. Samuel, over the course of 2 turns, is going to be able to close out this game.
Wow, that's crazy. The Leroy Jenkins draw here, it's just insane amount of damage. And when you just Samuel can just go through the entire deck list of Palmblad and see like, what can he do? There's a Blizzard, that's fine. I have a weapon. I have hero power. He can actually attack Palmblad from every single angle. There's only from one angle he doesn't have a damage, and that will be Mortal Strike, basically. So a direct damage from his hand. Oh, he waits with the Leroy Jenkins, doesn't want to put minions on his opponent's board. Acidic Swampus is waiting.
He's still dead.
Yeah, there's no way.
The steady shot was so key in this matchup for Samuel to have a consistent stream of damage that Palmblad cannot possibly shut off. Has made, probably not game-winning. Samuel had an incredible amount of damage regardless, but it has certainly sped up the clock on this game by several turns. And regardless of what Palmblad does here, Samuel has Leroy in hand, plus a steady shot, and that is going to be 8 damage to Palmblad's face. It needs to be a board clear and a heal, or a freeze and a heal. But even the Frost Nova and the Vendor is not going to be enough.
Yeah, definitely not. I'm just thinking, was there a reason why didn't Samuel play Leroy Jenkins last turn? He's putting his opponent to 1. He adds +2 attack on his opponent's board, plays around any taunt minions, but Palmblad isn't playing any, right? There's no second-rate bruiser in this deck. There's not, so there's no taunt minions, so that's something that he had taken into the account.
Well, Heroic Strike is drawn as well, so that is 10 damage maximum if Samuel wanted it. Certainly more than enough. And we're keeping Rexar in our mind, even though hasn't made any appearance this weekend.
And last.
0 hunters, but the steady shot coming in very clutch for SamuelTsao, taking game number 1 with the Pirate Warrior. So quick. And you almost predicted it, Lothar. If the mage doesn't have time, if they don't have 6 mana when they need to play Reno, well, Pirate Warrior's got damage for days.
That Babbling Book. A second Ice Block was nuts. Without the second Ice Block, he was not able to sustain
Yeah,
damage.
he was dead on 5 without that.
Ice Barrier wouldn't change it. It's just not enough. He needed that exact card to sustain the turn 5 and just go into the complete overload turn with Reno Jackson.
Well, we're going to be getting right into game number 2. Samuel's going to be playing his aggro rogue, and Palmblad is going to be on his own pirate aggressive warrior. And this one is warrior favored, but the aggro rogue has a better shot than Miracle. Going to be interesting to see if Palmblad can come back and get some momentum in the series, because that pirate warrior start for Samuel was just so strong.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, we already talked about Samuel's list, the aggro list, because it's running Beneath the Grounds, which is actually great against Palmblad, against 2 of his decks. But he will be facing now a deck that is not a Reno deck. So the Beneath the Grounds is, well, it's kind of downside to even run it. But that's just 1 card out of 30, so he might not even see it, right? In this case, he just wants to be as fast as possible. Argent Horse Rider is actually pretty great in this matchup, but he is going first. So that's actually a very difficult mulligan for Samuel. If he goes for the deckhand turn 1, it most likely will die to Patches. That's not. Oh my!
That's the kicker.
Well, I feel like kind of asked for the Patches because I just said he will die from Patches, and there he is, but not from the side of the
shall not be named.
Wow, that's so
Speak
sad.
Patches 3 times and he shows up in your hand. It's like reincarnation of Voldemort and Beetlejuice and all of your nightmares. And here he is.
Bloody Mary.
Yeah, Bloody Mary. It's Patches the Pirate, Lothar.
I mean, he was going first. Patches, when you're going first, is the nightmare. you start with 3 cards. Essentially, you basically started with 2 cards in this situation, and you even lose mana because of that. It's really a terrible situation for Samuel. He's not even being favored in this matchup. So now that's like downhill from here.
I mean,
for Samuel.
Look at Palmblad's hand. On the other side, it's incredibly strong. He has a myriad of plays that he could go for on turn 1.
Yeah, I don't blame him now for thinking, what should I do? Should I go for Patches turn 1? Should I go even for deckhand turn 1? He doesn't know that the Patches is in Samuel's hand, so playing both 1-drops is not maybe ideal.
If he wants to be as aggressive as possible, you can go first mate deckhand, or he can take it a little bit slower. Finley on 1, War Axe, Coin Corsair on 2 even.
Oh wow, he's going for the Finley in 1. Interesting. So he needs to commit to the hero power right now, and there's the steady shot. So, well, that's an option, I would say.
I would say it's a very good
We already
option.
have
It worked
seen it,
out pretty
right?
well for Samuel in game 1.
Backs are being drawn, a really good card in most of the situations, but still, low resources for Samuel. No board control. Wow, that's so sad. It's like horrible situation for Samuel.
Yeah, the rogue is already at enough of a disadvantage against the pirate warrior. You're trying to be the aggressor against the most aggressive deck in the format. It's almost insurmountable unless you get a better start than them. This is not a better start for Samuel.
Definitely
Drawing
not.
patches is, I think, oh goodness, Vicious Syndicate Data Reaper and a report they did said that drawing patches can lower your win rate by something up to 20%. It is
Like
a
from
staggering
46,
amount.
right?
Yeah.
It's insane when you think about it. It's really insane. I mean, that's the price you pay for playing a really high impact card that might have a downside from match to match, right? It's not that often that it happens, so usually it's not a big of a deal. At least it didn't happen in his quarterfinal match, because that
Yes.
would have been really important. Here is like,
Yes, very
I guess it
important.
can happen, right?
Certainly, this match matters. These guys are playing for, whoever wins this goes to the finals, and then the winner of the finals is the Asia Pacific Winter Champion. But regardless, they have both booked their ticket to the Bahamas, so the big goal they've already achieved. This is just the icing on the cake.
That's true. I like playing the Dread Cursor now with the patches because he knows that the patches will actually probably will get additional point of damage next turn because he's being protected from the dagger. Now he needs to make a decision about turn 3. Should I attack with the Fiery War Axe? Because I have Nzov First Mate in my hand. I didn't play it on turn 1. What do I do with it next, right? My options are turn 3, Hero Power into Deckhand. Because I have the weapon, he will have the charge, I maximize damage this turn. Or I attack with the weapon, and next on turn 3 I will go for Nzov and get additional weapon on my board and still push for damage with the hero power. And then turn 4 will be concurrently turn 5 will be Deckhand. So there's multiple options. I'm really surprised that I didn't attack them. 'Cause, we know that Rogue has no ways of
Yeah.
defending himself, right? He needs to be proactive. But wow,
Well, this worked out very well for him.
did it?
It unfortunately invalidates everything that we were thinking because this just makes hitting with the weapon strictly better. It gives him a powerful 3-mana minion to put on board, and Samuel has no tools to be able to fight back. The Swashbuckler pickup is decent, and the SI7 agent can maybe attempt to clean up some of this. But if you really want that cultist off the board, it's going to be Patch's Cold Blood that you have to commit, and then you're already on the back foot. You are essentially saying with that play, I will never be the aggressor in this matchup. So Samuel is going for the Swashbuckler. You saw him briefly hover over the Shadow Step. Maybe a couple of warrior cards could turn the tide of this game.
Well, that could have been like a shield blocking example. Would have been nice, right? Ali Armor Smith.
Oh yeah,
That would be nuts.
very strong.
So, but Cleave is not bad actually. If only he would have still a backstep here just to clean it up.
Well, Cleave Patches, running the weapon, does clear off the cultist. You are taking 3 damage and not giving yourself a beneficial position in this game, but that's the only immediate way to clear the board. Samuel's just going to go ahead and drop down the SI7 agent to challenge the Bloodsail cultist.
Well, this you most likely will pay a high price for this move because the damage we know that it can just go straight to the dome, right?
Look at all of this. The captain plus the deckhand
Yeah,
with
that's
the
insane
cultist
amount
on
of
board and the
damage.
4 damage weapon. This is
So
Wow,
he can
this is
already
all but
counter
over.
damage, right? He knows that the rogue, when he comes down in HP, there's no way of coming back unless a Swashbuckler will give him something from the warrior that will sustain the damage. So in this case, this turn, Sovsi Captain is +2 damage if he plays the deckhand, so that's 4, 7, 11 damage this turn. His opponent is going to 8 HP on turn 4.
And you have Core Chrono Elite plus a 4 damage weapon to back it
That's
up.
lethal.
Your opponent has no taunts. Set up the 2-turn lethal, you might as well go for it, because if the only thing standing in your way is one random spell, well, Palmblad disagrees.
Well, he goes
He wants to clear the board and just kill Samuel with board presence on the following turn. Either way, this is going to represent a 2-turn lethal.
Yeah, definitely true. He goes for the safe play. I don't blame him. Like as we said before, for Rogue, there's really a small chance of having a comeback mechanism that will add some HP to his bank, or just get him a taunt minion. So, and Samuel is playing 2 swashbucklers. Yes, 2 swashbucklers. So
Yeah, pretty standard.
only 2 cards from the entire Warriors arsenal. So it's kind of funny when I think about it. In this matchup, you basically rely on Warrior having something really good for you.
It very rarely does.
Yeah.
It seems like when you need it most, Warrior's giving you Shield Slam and you have no armor. Cleave, all things considered, is reasonable. It certainly has decent targets against the Pirate Warrior, but just too little, too late for Samuel, and he's just going to mitigate as much damage on this board as he possibly can. See how he's going to figure out how to do it. It's not going to be enough, we know that, but he does not yet.
Next turn, he's getting 3, 7, 11 damage, right? So it's 1 of lethal.
So
That
Samuel
means-
he's bought himself a turn.
That's true, but at the same time, Warriors at 27, has a Hunter Hero power. There's no way, just no way you can win this game anymore.
Samuel admitting that mistakes were made. I don't think any mistakes at this point would cost
Doesn't
him
really
the
matter,
game.
right?
It's
Yeah.
already been all but over since the mulligan, unfortunately. Samuel with a really rough hand, and Palmblad drawing incredibly well, especially with the Cultist on turn 3. That gave him the board presence that he needed to shut out this game. And he does not have lethal this turn.
Taking his time, like even in this commanding position, he's thinking about how can I just not lose 100% this game. So most likely he will trade. Yeah, and he trades. He knows that he has lethal next turn. Although it's not lethal for hand. He needs at least one of those minions to hit his opponent's face. Well, that's it.
Samuel has no removal. The weapons cannot, or the minions, excuse me, cannot be challenged. And that is going to be game number 2 in favor of Palmblad. So now 1-1 in the
Equalizer.
series.
Equalizer for Palmblad. It's a semifinal for the Winter's Championship.
Yeah, it's big stakes. Both these guys already have their tickets to the Bahamas, so, you know, a little pressure off, but certainly they want to do as well as they possibly can, represent their region as well as they possibly can, and, you know, add the title of Asia Pacific Winter Champion certainly doesn't hurt. We can see both Shamans have been banned out in this series. That's nothing surprising, but now Palmblad with the Warlock and the Mage against Samuel's own Mage and Rogue, excuse me. So it's 2 aggro decks versus 2 Reno decks.
Now it's the moment for the Rogue to shine against the Reno Mages. Sorry, Reno Mage or Reno Warlock, basically, right? Because if the Beneath the Grounds will be actually will be impactful, that might even win the game. But we just got information that the next match will be Mage against Mage.
Yeah, going to be really interesting to see if the Beneath the Grounds will make an impact, but right now it's going to be Tempo Mage versus Reno Mage, and we've seen this series, or this match, this game go both ways. The Tempo Mage can be incredibly aggressive, but the Reno Mage has so much defensive ability that it can easily shut down the Tempo Mage as well. So this one could be close.
Could be close, especially if 2 ice blocks will be drawn, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, 2 ice blocks can make magic happen. Certainly the Tempo Mage isn't as aggressive as the Pirate Warrior. You know, there's Babbling Book in hand for Palmblad. We'll have to see if he can maybe channel Pavel here and get some work done.
Seems like he already had, so let's see if he can just repeat the outcome from it. For Samuel...
Yeah, hopefully with better results this time.
Yeah. For Samuel, it's a really decent opener. And by decent opener, I mean that man of him. It's something you always want to have in your opening turn, especially if you go second, because you have access to the coin, which will buff it. Frostbolt also will help to buff up the damage, rock up the Manavern's attack value. Ooh, Polymorph. That's definitely
he did
interesting.
channel Pavel just a little bit, and the Polymorph could certainly come in handy.
Especially for the Ragnaros that Samuel is running in his list, because that means he will have one additional answer to big minions. And as we know, in those matchups, it's crucial for the Tempo Mage if he doesn't win in the beginning of the game he just wants to lock it down with creatures like Antonidas, like Ragnaros, who have insane amount of HP, and for the Reno Mage it's not easy to just get rid of them.
Well, Palmblad taking his time and going for the 2-turn kill on the Mana Worm. Samuel has the second Mana Worm available to him. He decided not to coin it out last turn because it would make his curve a little bit awkward. He wants to save that coin and use it to give him more powerful turns going on. So 1 Mana Worm will die, the second will take its place.
He probably would have coined out the second Mana Worm if there would be no Babbling Book. Because that's super aggressive against a deck that is pretty damn slow. And that 1 damage from the Babbling Book actually made a difference when it comes to potential damage from both Mana Worms. So kind of unfortunate for Samuel that the Babbling Book was there for turn 1, but he's still in the commanding position when you think about it. Like, he has a second Mana Worm. The Acolyte of Pain will give him the fuel to get to his important cards in this matchup, because what he wants to do usually is just to get few creatures on the board, get the necessary damage in, and then finish up the game with cards like Fireball, Frostbolt, combination of those, to just get through that HP pool from Palmblad.
Yep, he is gathering the tools, and on the right you can see these are the 16 players now who are Bahamas bound, including new additions Yolsik, B787, SamuelTsao, and Palmblad. We do not have an Asia Pacific champion quite yet, but that is what we are working on right now.
That might be Samuel, that might be Palmblad.
Very well could be.
Fireball being used as a removal, still fine. That's how Mage deals with minions, right? It just deals the damage. Well, really, that's a decent draw for Palmblad. Kazakh is already in hand. Burgly Bully, hard minion to remove, and even if it's get removed, at least we'll get one coin for Palmblad. Interesting thing when it comes to Burgly Bully, Samuel is actually running Emperor in his list. When he was playing against Gundam, Gundam was playing the same exact list as Samuel, but instead of Emperor, he was just playing Burgly Bully. And when you think about it, those cards are very similar. They're giving you access to another portion of mana that you can use for, well, 0 investment. But the thing is that Burgly Bully is a turn 5 drop, while Emperor is turn 6, so you get early on board. It has also 1 more HP, so it's better in the defense, but it doesn't have an instant impact on your hand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Bully is not a guarantee, but it certainly works better with Flame Waker and Archmage Antonidas. The Emperor, however, you get the guaranteed value. So the Fireball having come down in the previous turn for Samuel means that this Bully is going to guarantee some value at least for Palmblad. Samuel here hoping for a couple of fortunate Flame Waker missiles.
And oh my god,
that
he
is
gets
a
it.
big roll.
But he doesn't trade it, he values the 1 damage to his opponent's face more, and I don't blame him. This might be like, the 1 point. The 1 point might make the difference between losing and winning here.
Well, it's 1 point and potentially an extra card in the following turn. If Samuel were to choose to be able to ping the Acolyte, then he could run in. Flame Strike going to come down here and ruin all of those plans, however, but Samuel can still Water Elemental, kill off the Bully. This has been a slow enough opening for Samuel, however, that Palmblad he's got a lot of time now to gather resources, to find that Reno and to close out this game, and there it is. Reno Jackson and Kazakis both in hand. These are the 2 heavy hitters. Actually, all 3 of these cards are not looking too terrible either.
Holy moly, the Onyx Bishop. Okay, what was played from Palmblad? The Burgly Bully and Babbling Book. So the Babbling Book is like, oh.
That's a 50-50 for a really good outcome.
But is it worth it? What is this turn? This turn is most likely just Kazakis, right? So next turn 8, what is your plan? Reno? Not yet. There's no point in using it.
Blizzard, maybe. Blizzard with the Thalnos.
You will have a potion from this turn, so most likely 5-mana potion. So Polymorph is also not bad.
It's going to go with the Abyssal Enforcer. The Blizzard and the Thalnos on turn 8. The Abyssal Enforcer well, it deals 3 damage as well. So maybe in certain cases you want the body development for Abyssal Enforcer. It might just be better in some cases. And Palmblad already has access to the polymorph that came from the book, so didn't need the polymorph 4. Going for a 5-mana potion. Let's see what he can get.
So most likely he got the AoE damage, that would be my guess. Let's see, 4 damage to all minions, summon 2 friendly minions that died this game. That is a really insane potion. When you think about it, it's like 2 Onyx Bishops built in. I mean the effect, right? Not the body itself, but it's quite insane when you think about it. Now Samuel, he is fighting from behind. He doesn't know it yet, but he will get to know that pretty fast. The damage is not going well for him.
I mean, he had 2 mana worms in his opening hand, essentially, and your opponent's still at 23 on turn 7. Which means somewhere along the way, something went wrong. And it was simply just that Palmblad had the reactive material, and Samuel wasn't able to take advantage of his early curve.
I can tell you what went wrong. That Flame Strike on turn 6 with the second coin was brutal for Samuel. He paid a high price for that. And now Palmblad is in a really commanding position. Look at that. Abyssal Enforcer, great pickup. The choice of taking the Warlock's minion actually made a huge impact on the board. Having developed a minion and taking care of... Well, basically he just had another Flame Strike built in. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a card that is an auto-include in Reno Warlock decks, is single-handedly wrecking its way through Arena and bringing Warlock to the top. It is just an incredibly efficient card, and in this case was able to get not 1, but 2 kills on Samuel's minions, and then slam a 6/6 body on the board to contest pretty much everything that Samuel has in his deck.
Look at that. This turn, I feel like Samuel needs to just go all in. Play the Flameraker, play the Sorcerer's Apprentice, play the Arcane Missiles, the coin, just go all in with everything. Push as much damage as possible, and that's your chance to win. You know the opponent did get a potion, but you can't grind it out. Like, unless you get Antonidas in the next turn, there's no way of grinding out the matchup anymore.
Yeah, you're not going to beat the Reno Mage in the late game. You're not going to beat them on value. You need to, at some point, take the board and go all in. And this is Samuel's turn to do it.
That's unfortunate. He can still go for the coin ping.
He would need to hit both missiles, however. He did it once before.
He didn't decide for it.
He elects not to do it. Yeah, he was running very short on time there.
Yep, that is true.
This hedges his bets a little bit, keeps the coin, maybe can get something done with Antonidas on turn 10. Can Antonidas coin Fireball? It's not looking good, though. Palmblad still has that Kazakus potion, which can full clear the board here and res 2. And then Reno on the back foot. This one's going to Palmblad.
Definitely looking great for Palmblad here. 16 HP, healthy amount of points just to be safe from any reach, basically. He knows that Samuel still has the coin, so only 1 viable card to play next turn apart from the top deck. So not many things happening. There's the Falnos, which can get him another card, but he can just deal with the entire board. Even if he wants to, he can just play Blizzard here and just deal with the Flamewaker. But it's kind of pointless. He has so many options.
Ooh, I like this. Dirty Ratting out. Try to, if your opponent has Antonidas in hand, try to pull that out, get an immediate kill on it. And Samuel,
play.
Gonna follow up with this Kazakus potion.
Not only Antonidas, also Ragnaros, an example.
Yep.
So quite nuts. And he also lands the Burgly Bully from the Resurrect. So anything, any spell that will be played by Samuel gives additional coins to Palmblad. So that's like a cherry on top for him.
Yeah, this was not the way that Samuel wanted this matchup to go. If the Tempo Mage doesn't take control from early on and keep it the entire time, then the Reno Mage just is going to eventually take the game. And that's exactly what is happening here for Palmblad. Samuel completely out of resources, Palmblad an abundance of resources.
Reno Jackson for 15, no need to just wait for it anymore. He's in like he had taken control starting from turn 3, so Samuel just concedes. He knows that there's no way he can win. No way.
Yeah, Reno coming down, it certainly wasn't necessary there for Palmblad. He didn't need the 15 heal. But by putting down the Reno, you're essentially saying, okay, Yeah, you have no chance to win now. So let's just drop this now. Let's finish this quickly. Let's move on to game number 4. And that's exactly what happened. Palmblad now up 2-1 in the series.
He is left with his Reno Warlock. So now the question is, what will Samuel pick? And he goes for the Mage again.
That's, I mean, he has to get a win with both the Mage and the Rogue. The Rogue has the Beneath the Grounds tech, which could potentially screw with the Warlock's plans. But in this case, the Tempo Mage is so quick, and in a lot of cases, the Reno Warlock isn't very well equipped to deal with the early minions from the Tempo Mage if they don't get Hellfire or Demon Wrath. So Samuel saying the Tempo Mage has a better shot here, and he's going to go ahead and try to get a win with it and force this to a game number 5.
Let's see if we'll get another Mana Vim for turn 1, maybe even double as in the previous game. That didn't help him, but maybe this time it will make a difference. Make
Mana Worm great again. Well, there's Kazakus and Reno.
Holy moly. So he keeps both, right? There's no way you will just mulligan away Arena Jackson and Kazakus.
I mean, you really need to find the early removal, but it's just too good not to hold on to.
I was actually thinking about keeping just the Sun Fury Protector, just as a 2-drop. Just drop him, he soaks up some damage, can help you with mana vims if it's really needed. And but he went with the mulligan for both, got a Mortal Coil and Twilight Drake. Twilight Drake not really ideal in this scenario. He can just coin it out on turn 3 to just get something on board. So let's see, what are the options for Samuel? He got a Sorcerer's Apprentice, which is actually decent, but now what do you do? What do you do this turn? There's a Doomsayer on turn 2, which is something you always want to play as a defensive deck against basically every aggro deck. It has 7 HP. Will
Blood Mage
Samuel...
Arcane Blast is looking really nice to me. Lines up very well.
I guess you can pay that price. I mean, it's not really that big of a commitment when you think about it. You develop the board a little bit, develop the board a little bit, and still 1 additional damage. The Arcane Blast gets his double damage from the Thanos, so that's pure value. You still get to keep your Flamewaker. The only problem is that even if you develop the Flamewaker next turn, you can't really play any spells because your Torch is for 2 mana, Fireball is for 3. But it's still not a problem. So I'm not really surprised by this choice here. Now Palmblad just uses his Mortal Coil. Most likely will tap this turn just to play Twilight Drake next turn. If the board will start to get dangerous, so another minion will get developed, I'm guessing instead of the Twilight Drake there will be just Kazakus for the potion for turn 5, which can just seal the deal.
Yeah, Palmblad had the option to coin into the Drake on this turn if he wanted to. Would have been very weak to Fireball, so Mortal Coil plus tap makes his Drake stronger, gets the Thalnos off the board right away, gets him the best value he can hope for from the Mortal Coil in this matchup. So Palmblad, knowing he has every resource he needs to take it slow, and a little bit of AoE from Kazakus would be the icing on the cake for him. Samuel here trying to figure out, does he have the liberty of extending onto this board already? Flamewaker Mirror Image is a very real possibility.
Yeah, but
he can start to push some damage.
I mean, the Mirror Image in this matchup is almost worthless. It just serves as 2 damage to the face this turn if it would be played with the Flamewaker, and I wouldn't blame him to play that at all. The option would be from Palmblad to play Hellfire, which doesn't kill the Flamewaker, so that's important for Samuel, and he just gets additional damage.
Okay, so Samuel going to hold the Mirror Image here.
Not a bad decision as well, because if you're worried about Hellfire, Hellfire kills the Mirror Images, right?
Demon Wrath as well.
You will have the 1 mana on turn 5. The only problem is you can top deck an Azure Drake, an example, and then you can't play both. You can't play Mirror Image, you can't play Azure Drake at the same time. So that's problematic. That's probably the one thing that might be a downside from that decision, because there are no other 5-drops in Samuel's deck. Just checking, yes.
The Mirror Image is going to be free on the following turns if the Apprentice doesn't die anyway. And if Shadow Bolt were to come down here and kill the Flamewaker, then maybe you'd rather have that Mirror Image for your second Flamewaker when you have a chance to draw it. So Palmblad here getting another 5-mana potion. Let's see what he can find. AoE would be ideal.
And he has the AoE, so second time he gets the 4 damage to all minions. Fell Bloom is insane in almost every single matchup. Like when it comes to our current metagame, the 4 damage is nuts.
And he had, and again, it is the same potion as last game, 4 damage and resurrect 2 minions. So that is going to be incredibly powerful. And Samuel not seeing a kill on the Flame Waker this turn, thinking again.
He can play his entire hand this turn. So how much damage is that? That's 6, 9, 11, 13, 15, 17, 18, 19, 22 damage, right?
He's got to go through the Kazakus first, but Samuel just unloading here, knowing this is the most damage at any one point in time he is going to have. And even if Palmblad has a Kazakus potion with the 4 damage AoE, which he does, then this is Samuel's time to strike and maybe draw into a Fireball or a Frostbolt to finish off the game. This is it. My God, with the attacks on board, that was an incredible amount of damage.
I'm just like, what?
I think we were both a little bit shocked there.
Yes, was I counting the damage from hand?
You've got the 9 from the Fireball Forgotten Torch, but then Arcane Blast, Mirror Image, that's 4, and then an additional 4, plus the 5 that was on board. It's a lot of damage, Lothar. And everything that I said was pretty much irrelevant because it was just lethal. And Palmblad has actually just no chance whatsoever to use the Kazakus potion, the Reno that was in hand. Sam blew out that game completely.
I mean, that doesn't happen often. Turn 5, when you just play 5 spells, that translates into 10 damage from Flame Waker, and you know that only 1 damage can go to the Kazakus because you play your Arcane Blast first, which guarantees the damage on the minion. So that was just insane. To be honest, it was just like, yeah, let's count the damage from hand. It's 22, right?
But then, there's 5 on board.
Yeah,
and
quite insane.
That's it's just lethal. So SamuelTsao has forced a game number 5, and it is going to be his aggressive rogue with the Beneath the Grounds taking on Palmblad's Reno Warlock. I am still just a little bit dumbfounded. Yeah, it's pretty late here, but
I mean,
amazing
it was
how
an
much
insane
math can
turn.
go out the window.
It was an insane
insane
turn from Samuel in the previous match, but now we need to focus on this one because it's turn 1, small time Buccaneer with patches, already Cold Blood in hand as well, so he can actually go for turn 1 Buccaneer patches Cold Blood if he would like to, and that's insane amount of damage. If his opponent doesn't have a Mortal Coil, it's hard to deal with. Might be a high risk, high reward play.
Goes right through the Doomsayer.
Well, you have enough damage on board as well, right?
You just push right through the Doomsayer and then face on the following turn.
Doesn't go for it, so he wants to save the Cold Blood for the Horse Rider. It might be a viable turn 4 play, and it's really tough to remove because it requires a Warlock to actually have two direct damage or AoE and direct damage. Usually that will be an attack from minion or just Mortal Coil. Soulfire is kind of pointless. You don't want to play that, especially in the beginning, because you lose so much card advantage.
Well, fortunately for Palmblad, there is no Flame Waker in this deck. There's no Fireball. There's no Sorcerer's Apprentice. So the damage threshold is going to be slightly less, but there is Cold Blood and there is Eviscerate. So it's going to be a lot coming at him very quickly, and Samuel can remove this Doomsayer with a Hero Power and the Cold Blood if he chooses.
Well, yeah.
It's committing your Cold Blood onto the board rather early, but you have a very nice curve to follow it up with. He also could just choose to hit face and sacrifice the board.
The problem is that if he uses Cold Blood this turn, he's being punished by Demon Wrath, and that's really a huge punish. Because he kills the Doomsayer, he sacrificed 7 damage, and then that damage is still mitigated by the Demon Wrath. But the question is, how often your opponent has the Demon Wrath in his hand? He's playing a deck full of one-offs, right? So there's only one card, turn 3, that punishes you here. We know that it's already waiting for him in the hand, but other than that, it seems like a decent play.
Caster Vision. Yep, he's going to go ahead and kill off the Doomsayer. Any other time, this would be perfectly fine. This time it is perfectly fine from his perspective, but it is going to get punished by the Demon Wrath from Palmblad. And the Drake's not a bad draw. That'll give Palmblad, potentially something to do on turn 4 if in-game boss Soulfire is not more ideal.
Don't worry, loves. The cavalry's here.
Horse Rider just deals 2 damage. It's a perfect, actually it's a perfect sticky minion here. Because now Palmblad is like, yeah, I don't really have a way of dealing with this creature. Even next turn, just needs to attack into it twice. Samuel just ignored the Twilight Drake. Play maybe a second one. Ooh,
okay.
Does that change anything? He can go for Shadow Step this turn as well. So he can attack with Horse Rider, Shadow Step it, attack for additional 2, and play the Edwin. He goes for it.
It's pretty good.
Don't worry,
So he has the
loves.
trade, now
cavalry's
he
here.
takes care of the Twilight Dragon and plays the Edwin, which is a 6/6, a very formidable creature against the Warlock. Because now the only option to actually deal with it is either Spellbreaker or Blast Crystal Potion. None of them are in the hand, so for Palmblad, I think it's actually just Faceless Manipulator. He knows that the rogue that Samuel is running has no sap. There's no way of just getting rid of that 6/6 really easily. So definitely correct choice from Palmblad. 2 Edwins on board. Oh wait, that Swashbuckler can actually give a Blast Crystal Potion.
It could.
Or Shadow Bolt.
Or Soulfire. There's quite a few things that could be very reasonable here. Let's see what it is. Fist of Jaraxxus.
Well,
okay,
the
that's a
Fist of Jaraxxus,
50-50.
50-50 that might go
Ooh,
into
baby.
the Edwin. Do you go for it? Because that's the question.
If you get it, you save the Edwin. You know your opponent doesn't have a way to kill it. This is
Oh, it
huge, and he
hits.
gets it.
He gets
Wow.
the fist to the face of the minion. What a punch.
Turns out Warlock has a lot of ways to deal 4 damage. Okay, Palmblad picks up the Hellfire. Hellfire, Soulfire can clear off this Edwin.
But then he's
But
so low on
Then you
resources.
lose 3 resources. You don't have Kazakus. You don't have Reno this game. So it doesn't matter that your opponent doesn't have Flame Waker because you are so short on tools.
You need to deal with the Edwin. If you don't kill him this turn, it's already 12 damage from it. If you play the Hellfire this turn, it's like half of the attack from the Edwin, but at least you deal with the minion, right? The other cards in Samuel's hand can actually be, low impact spells, like Second Shadow Step, like a Backstab, which usually is kind of pointless in those matchups. So, kind of greedy here, but he knows that if even the Imp Ganglers will be killed by an Eviscer, that would be like the ideal scenario for Samuel. Well, that's actually terrible for him. But if there's no Eviscerate, then he still gets the 1/1 minions from it, and he can get some trade in the upcoming turn. Ideally, of course, it stops the entire attack.
No Eviscerate, fortunately for Palmblad, coming from Samuel's side. It is still not looking great for Palmblad. Samuel has some really nice cards in hand. Not too much damage represented from Burst, but the Tomb Pillager certainly looking to stick around.
Well, that's the question. How do you develop the board here for the next turn? Because you have 7, basically every single turn now from Samuel will mean that he can play his entire hand. So in this case, it's just really tough to play around anything here. Palmblad with the same problem as he has just facing last turn,
Got
right?
the same exact options, and they are both still really, really bad. Jaraxxus
So
not
it's-
looking to come online anytime soon.
Let's say he plays Soulfire this turn, right? Hellfire is terrible. Like if you play Hellfire, it doesn't change anything because both big minions have 4 HP, and he used the Mortal Coil already. So in this case, just the Soulfire will mean it will take care of the Edwin. Now it's important to keep the Ragnar's for next turn. Oh, maybe it was actually important to just tap first? Maybe not, because the Twisting Nether is actually important for turn 8. Now instead of Rag, the Twisting Nether can turn this game around.
I like the Soulfire first. The Ragnos from the Lord Jaraxxus are not very valuable. Yes, the Rag can give you something to do on the next turn, but it's not going to win you this game. If Palmblad were to life tap first and hit Reno Jackson, and then still be forced to Soulfire this turn,
Yeah,
if it had ditched the
that would've been
Reno, he
terrible.
would have just lost the game regardless. So I like Soulfire first, tap second, and the Nether pickup is pretty decent. It's going to give him a guaranteed board clear. The question is, does Samuel decide to go all in here, which would get just a little bit punished by the Nether? Palmblad would still have to pick up something on the back end. Reno Jackson, namely, would be ideal.
I mean, the only bad thing that can happen for Samuel is actually twist Nether in this situation, because the Divine Shields, which usually are really important against AoE, stick around, right? But twisting Nether just removes them instantly, so they basically do like double damage to them. And this means that Palmblad takes advantage of the twisting Nether. Samuel is left with only the dagger. He can't believe that. Look at his face.
Ooh, Zeryl's an interesting pickup. That's going to guarantee Samuel 2 toxins. King's Blood is very nice here.
That is insane. And
Into
Shaku.
a Shaku, okay.
He was low on resources, and the Shaku will now allow him to get back into the game, because now, even with the Jaraxxus played next turn, he can just... What if he gets Sacrificial Pact?
Okay, these are a lot of lines that we need to think about. Let's not get too carried away here. Let's think exactly what Palmblad needs to do this turn. Yes, Jaraxxus would put him up to 15. He could then hit into the Zeryl, go down to 12, but Palmblad has picked up the Dirty Rat. He knows the only thing in Samuel's hand is that coin.
Yeah, that's true.
So is Dirty Rat plus Emperor on this turn enough?
Might be. It might be because the Dirty Rat, let's say, what is the worst case scenario? An Eviscerate, or Cold Blood, or Leroy being played. Leroy can deal immediately with the Dirty Rat. 5 damage to the face. Shaku gets a card. If Shaku gets Soulfire, it would be lethal.
Nice.
But, okay, so... do you attack with Shaku first?
Well, what should you get from Shaku that would... I guess there's quite a few things that you could get from Shaku that you might want
There's
to
even an Enforcer, an example.
Mm-hmm.
He goes for the Azure Drake, gets a Swashbuckler, basically the same effect.
Yeah. This is going to be 2 Warlock cards for Samuel. Let's see what the first one is.
Sense
Demons. That's 2 1/1
1/1s.
nothings. That's going to be absolutely useless for Samuel here. Hopefully the Swashbuckler will net him something a little bit better. Mr. Jaraxxus certainly was also really good.
Couple Chemist.
Okay, we actually saw this earlier today. The Chemist gave the Blood Fury Potion. Oh, there's the Fire Bloom Toxin as well. Okay.
Fire Bloom Toxin is 3 damage in this situation when there's still Acid Drake on board, which might be important. Now it's a possibility to just draw Eviscerate into the Toxin, that's 6 damage. If you get Felfire Potion from the Chemist, that's additional 5, an example. I think that will be the best possible potion for him.
Ooh, Shadow Bolt's a nice draw for Palmblad.
He's with the Drake.
Yeah, it deals with the Drake. Emperor can run into Shaku, and you can even slam the Rag. The question is, Palmblad, he's wondering, is he safe at 8, or does he need to heal up to 15? Trade the Emperor into the Drake, trade the Jaraxxus weapon into the Shaku, and then Hero Power, and you get a 6/6 Infernal.
He is actually thinking about life tapping first and then playing Jaraxxus. So that would mean he trades with Emperor into the Acid Drake, then trades with Jaraxxus into Shaku just to deny the additional card draw.
And a better chance of drawing Reno Jackson or Kazakus.
In the back of his mind, there's a question: did he get Sacrificial Pact from those 2 cards? Is Jaraxxus safe?
There's
right?
so many things you have to worry about right now, and yes, that's one of them. But it's so out of the realm of possibility. Man, there's got to be so many things running through his head. It is going to be the Jaraxxus, and Kazakus picked up. That could be really nice going forward, but Palmblad needs to deal with this board right now before he can even think about that.
Oh, it's not bad. He's at 13 live. Samuel still with the Toxin and with the Chemist.
Well, let's see what the Chemist can bring. Another Blood Flurry Potion.
That's the 3rd time we see actually today. Alright, +3 attack. So 4 damage to the face. Potential 2 damage in the Toxin, that's 6. Samuel needs to tank the Emperor just to save the threats on his board, and he can develop 2 Pillage at the same time. So that's quite insane. So now for Palmblad, Kazakus needs to do some magic.
You can Kazakus, pick up a 5-mana potion, And even if you don't get AoE,
okay.
you can Shadow Bolt. Ooh, Siphon Soul Shadow Bolt looks really tempting as well. You can fit in your hero power and make a 6/6 Infernal.
You leave a 3/3 on board, and that means your opponent has an out to win. Because he will have a chance to draw an Eviscerate, and that's 8 damage. You're getting back to 12 with the Siphon Soul. Leroy Jenkins plus Chemist.
Plus the Fire Bloom in hand.
Well, Palmblad can take into account that it might be either Shadow Step, an example, or, which costs of 1 mana, of course, if it's the Toxin version. It goes actually for the Siphon Soul and Shadow Bolt, so safe version, because maybe the Kazakus wouldn't give him the potion to heal it, right? But now, a small chance for Samuel to actually seal the game.
Leroy or bust.
Close.
It is not Leroy
Close,
here.
but no cigar. The Shadow Step useless.
And Sense Demons is just 2 1/1 worthless imps.
I mean, they are not worthless. They are 1/1s. That's actually, something.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it might actually draw 6 damage from Palmblad. And Samuel is only at 18, so let's see here. 6/9, Ragnaros.
Blast Crystal Potion on the imp. Sick.
Yes.
Okay, so
Sick indeed.
in this case, you go always for the 5-mana potion.
Yeah.
Because there's still 2 mana left for the hero power. Oh, wait, do you actually go every single time? Because if you choose the AoE, it deals 2 damage.
He's going for the 1.
Yeah, so it makes sense to go with the 1-mana potion here. 3 damage and Heart of Fire doesn't really give him that much.
Armor would
although,
be really nice as well.
I think he goes for the damage here, because he would like to deal with those 1/1 minions as well. Ooh, no armor. Slim pickings for Palmblad.
Yeah, not what he wanted to see here.
Someone
Maybe draw if he uses the 1-drop and draws a card. Could potentially be Reno off the top. He would have 6 mana for that. So
That is true, right? There's a possibility of just top decking Reno.
could see reasons for all 3 of those options. Let's see what he went with. It is deal 3 damage, freeze a random enemy minion. Okay, so he just wants to make sure that these worthless imps live up to their name and do absolutely nothing to impact this match.
That rag is like, oh, I'm gonna snipe that imp so hard he would die 8 times.
8 times over. Even rag to the face would be 1 off. That imp
see?
is
Such an
toast.
overkill.
Die,
Wait,
insect.
Is
That's
that
what the
lethal?
imp is.
1 off.
Coin, SI7 agent, Shadow Step, SI7 agent, Fire Bloom is 2, 4, 6, 7 damage with the dagger. Samuel is all in right here.
This guy's toast.
Holy moly.
But it is not going to be enough. Palmblad
That
going to
was
have
close.
lethal on the back foot. And that is going to be Palmblad taking the series and fighting his way to the finals. Talk about a close series, Lothar.
That was really...
Holy crap, indeed. Yeah, that was something right there.
That imp could have won the game.
The imp could have won the game. You're absolutely right. The imp was incredibly dead to the Ragnaros. But in another world, maybe that worthless imp wasn't so worthless at all. But in this world, Palmblad has won the 2nd semifinal, and he is going to meet B787 in the finals to fight for the title of Asia Pacific Winter Champion.
Congrats. I mean, that's the first occasion for him to actually get a really big achievement, right? So big deal for Palmblad. I would say that actually in this match, he was playing really well, especially the last one with the Warlock was really tight when it comes to the quality of play. So nice to see that, especially the decision when it comes to the Siphon Soul, Shadow Bolt, no unnecessary risk basically taken from him.
Yeah, he was making the most out of the draws that he had, and even in the Reno Mage versus Tempo Mage game, which was a bit of a blowout, regardless of Reno and Kazakis in hand, he was able to take it back and take that series 3 games to 2. And now to get their thoughts, we've